The Department of Cannabis Regulation, also known as DCR, is transforming its website into a more user-friendly online information and resource center. We have comprehensively redesigned our website to streamline, simplify, and make more accessible information related to licensing and the Social Equity Program. All videos and resources on the website are for informational or guidance purposes only and may be updated from time to time as information becomes available. The information contained in these videos, forums, and other resources is subject to change without notice and does not replace or supersede the requirements contained in the Los Angeles Municipal Code or the rules and regulations. DCR encourages all applicants to conduct their own due diligence and seek legal or business advice if necessary.
Hello, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. My name is Raina Plummer, and I am the Public Relations Specialist for the City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation. Welcome to tonight's Spark session. On April 20th, 2021, DCR launched Spark, a multifaceted program that lets community members engage with DCR through a variety of methods, including virtual events, comments, surveys, and informational collateral. At the end of the initiative, we will be compiling a report of every comment, survey, and feedback received. This report will provide recommendations that will help shape the future of cannabis policy in the City of Los Angeles. Prior to the beginning of each Spark session, we will be allowing stakeholders and members of the community to provide stakeholder comments orally. Our Spark partner, MBI Media, will be managing this effort before handing the Spark session back over to DCR. A few quick things to note before we begin the session. To raise your hand to give a comment, you can raise your hand using the raise hand function or *9 if calling from a phone to provide a stakeholder comment. Feel free to say your name. Participants have 2 minutes to speak, and participants are allowed to speak once per a stakeholder comment period. Please remember that we are not answering questions. This is a stakeholder comment period. We are simply gathering and receiving feedback. And please try to keep your comments on topic to what we're talking about today or about anything related to Spark and cannabis policy. I will now pass the presentation over to Ms. Smith with MBI Media to start the stakeholder comment period.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer. We'll begin taking stakeholder comments. My associate, Ms. Roman, will be muting and unmuting attendees as they raise their hands to speak. As Ms. Plummer indicated, everyone will be given 2 minutes to speak. And as soon as we see the first hand, we will start unmuting you. So the first hand I see is for Imtume. You may start speaking. You are unmuted.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
All right. My name is Imtume. I'm a member of the Social Equity Owners and Workers Association. The City of Los Angeles has failed Black and Brown communities that Measure M promised to address through tax revenues for social equity and social justice. Black and Brown people must be prioritized in Los Angeles cannabis industry, in Los Angeles's cannabis industry and policies now. We want action on enforcement of corporate responsibility reporting. The DCR needs to post the criteria now. We need required detailed semi-annual social equity workers hiring report for all license holders and temporary approval. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. We appreciate it. Next, we have Ms. Keith. Ms. Keith, you will be unmuted and you will have 2 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Well, I know the topic today is corporate social responsibility. So I want to remind all of us of section 104.22 that was in the ordinance November of 2018. Mind you, we are in 2021. I do not need to do the math. And that ordinance reads, no later than February 1st of every year, a licensee shall submit to the DCR a written cannabis corporate responsibility report that describes the licensee's community engagement, corporate philanthropy, relationship with the neighborhood surrounding the licensed business premises. This was to start in 2019. I recall coming to a meeting where Kat Packer put the information forward to push that date. But every single thing that was supposed to be for the community and social equity keeps getting pushed. Yet you're not pushing enforcement. Our budgets are going to police enforcement. You're not pushing money going to administration and staff. You're not pushing what happens with the pre-ICOs, but everything that has to do with improving our community. Having these corporations who are having licenses for 3 years, the city has made almost $500 million in tax revenues. These license holders and temporary approval folks are supposed to be submitting corporate social responsibility reporting. The DCR needs to post the criteria so that they can't say that we didn't know what we were supposed to put in our corporate social responsibility reporting. That's critical. That's what was in Measure M, to make sure that within these tax revenues, that there was some obligation to social equity and social justice. So I ask that you enforce that policy. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time. Next, we have Chef Sion Holmes. It looks like that person has dropped off. Their hand is down. So next we'll go to Alfred Torregno.
Yes, thank you. It's Alfred Torregano. And I really appreciate you all for being here again in commitment to advancing social equity in Los Angeles. I just want to echo my cadre of cannabis equity applicants and entrepreneurs as the Social Equity Owners and Workers Association. As Ms. Keith was stating, you know, with the section 104.22 read, it also reads that if a licensee holds multiple business premises, the licensee should submit separate reports for each business premise. And DCR should develop a criteria to score each report based on the license type. And an applicant with temporary approval shall also meet the requirements of this section. It's really clear that when we made this commitment in Measure M, that there was a social equity and a social justice component. The corporate social responsibility is so important to the community that is disadvantaged and disproportionately affected by so many things. And so it's so important that we prioritize social equity applicants, we give them a real advantage, and we hold these established EMMDSs, the pre-ICOs, accountable for true corporate social responsibility. My name is Alfred Torregano, and I trust that we can do this all together. Peace and love.
Thank you very much for your comment. It looks like we have another hand raised. The last 4 digits of the phone number are 8229. You are unmuted and will have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. I am Sarah Armstrong, Director of Industry Affairs for Americans for Safe Access. As you move towards corporate responsibility, I believe the people who should get the most credit for being responsible are those who run compassion programs, have visiting nurses come into their shops to meet with clients, consumers, and patients, and who always try to directly benefit the community. The reason for this is that charities often cannot accept money from cannabis organizations for several reasons. And the other sort of path is to give it to an elected official for their discretionary fund. Both paths mean that the full value of the gift will not be realized. In the case of charities, there's administrative expenses. And in the case of the elected official, you lose control of how the money's spent. So if the DCR could concentrate on giving the greatest weight to those who make the best effort to help their consumers and their patients benefit from their participation in the cannabis program, this would be a better path. And we know that it's a better path because since 1996, It has been long established in cannabis retail, these programs, and they have also come up with other ideas such as Uber rides to the dispensary so that people in underserved areas can also go to a good grocery store before they get in the car to come home. And there are other programs that can directly be done through the dispensary. They're easy to audit. The DCR can audit them themselves. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your comment. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. While we're waiting for the next hand or stakeholder comment, I want to give a quick announcement. DCR and Elevate Impact LA will be hosting a lunch and learn for the SEED grant program on Thursday, June 10th, 2021. From 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. The team from Elevate Impact LA will walk participants through each step of the application, provide feedback on grant assessment documents, and answer questions. During when you RSVP for the session, you will get an email that also contains the documents that they'll be covering. So you guys have a chance to look and review in advance. But again, this is a great time to have a lunch and learn with the DCR and Elevate Impact LA team in regards to the SEED grant program. For those of us who are just joining, we are currently in our stakeholder comment period. The stakeholder session, the Spark session will officially begin at 6 p.m. We have extended our Spark sessions for this session and the next two sessions by 30 minutes. The Spark sessions will now last from 6 to 7:30 p.m. We extended this after last week's session and hearing the great conversations that were occurring in the various breakout rooms. And we want to give more time for people to be able to discuss. And tonight's topic is corporate social responsibility. So feel free to leave a comment now or in the comment room or in the breakout rooms. For now, if you would like to leave a stakeholder comment related to anything cannabis in Los Angeles or Spark, please let us know. Feel free to raise your hand or use *9 if calling from a phone to provide stakeholder comment. Feel free to state your name if you're interested, and each person that raises their hand will have 2 minutes to speak. Participants are allowed to speak once per stakeholder comment period. And again, we're not answering questions during this time. We simply want to get your feedback on the things that you've been hearing, what you've been reading in the virtual meeting room, or anything you have feedback on related to tonight's session or the previous Spark sessions. And we are capturing all of the comments that are left in the chat box as well. Feel free to drop your comment in there, or feel free to give us your comment verbally over the Zoom right now. If you're calling from a phone, you can raise your hand using *9. If you're calling in from or joining us via Zoom, you can use the raise hand function to raise your hand to speak during the stakeholder comment period. Another quick reminder that our next Cannabis Regulation Commission meeting will be Thursday, June 17th, 2021. It begins at 2 p.m. You can access the meeting via the DCR website homepage or under the About menu under Cannabis Regulation Commission meetings. The commission meetings are live streamed, and you can also call in if you would like to leave a public comment during the commission meetings. That information, again, can be found on the DCR website at cannabis.lacity.org under About, and then under Cannabis Regulation Commission.
And just to reiterate, every verbal comment and comment captured in the chat box is being recorded for future use. So please know that your voice is being heard and your voice matters. So please use this time to speak. You'll be given 2 minutes to speak. And we will unmute you as soon as we see your raised hand. Ms. Plummer, I have no hands raised. Oh, I'm sorry, we just got a hand right now. Mr. Garcia, we will unmute you and you will have the floor for 2 minutes.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for hosting this event again. And I'm a local educator here in the community, and I would like to see more opportunities given, not just in hiring of local youth, but also in the training of them to be able to utilize some of the technology that is being used for productive purposes, such as growing traditional crops, being that we are in a food desert. It seems like these companies are making a lot of money that could be invested in educational programs that can lend themselves to being fruitful to very, very good projects in the local community. So not just hiring locally, but also providing educational opportunities for us to learn how to use this to improve our communities as well, and not just limited to cannabis. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. And for those joining us, I want to give a quick reminder that we do have our virtual meeting room that's available via the DCR website at cannabis.lacity.org. Simply go to the website, and on the homepage, you'll see a Spark landing page via the carousel or in the middle of the homepage. From there, it'll take you to the Spark landing page, which has an Enter Now button, which will take you to the virtual meeting room. Inside the virtual meeting room, we have different stations, including a station with the past Spark sessions and videos to those Spark sessions, as well as resource stations, our survey station, and the comment box station. The comment box and the surveys will be open and available through June 30th. So please take advantage of that when you get a chance. For those of you that are just joining us, I want to give a quick reminder that we are currently in the stakeholder comment period. During this time, stakeholders who are attending can raise their hand to leave a stakeholder comment. You can raise your hand using the raise hand function, or if calling by phone, using *9 to provide a stakeholder comment. Feel free to state your name if interested. Participants will have 2 minutes to speak, and participants are allowed to speak once per a stakeholder comment period. This is for comment collection. We really want to hear from you guys. We won't be answering questions during this time. We're simply getting feedback from you guys to help develop our future reports and recommendations. We are asking that comments must remain on topic related to Spark, our previous sessions, or tonight's topic. And please feel free to sign up for the Spark email list. It is located on the Spark landing page on the DCR website, again, at cannabis.lacity.org. You can get all the latest Spark news, including recent updates such that we are extending our Spark sessions by 30 minutes. This session and the following sessions will all go an extra 30 minutes. We saw with the breakout rooms, we got a lot of great engagement, and we wanted to extend that time to allow for our stakeholders to have more conversation and dialogue with others about cannabis in our city. Tonight's topic will be on corporate social responsibility, but please make sure you sign up for the email list so you can receive future updates and get access directly to the surveys and much more. For those that are just joining, we are in the stakeholder comment period. This is our time to hear from you. Feel free to raise your hand to leave a stakeholder comment. Everyone has 2 minutes to speak. Feel free to state your name if interested. You can raise your hand by using the raise hand function or by using *9 if calling from a phone. Participants are allowed to speak once per stakeholder comment. And again, we are giving everybody 2 minutes, so we would love to hear from you.
We're getting great feedback in the chat feature also, Ms. Plummer.
That is great to hear. I can't wait to look and see what people are dropping into the chat there, but even more so knowing that the discussions are ramping up now before the session. I know once we begin the session and the breakout rooms, we will have even more robust conversations. And so I'm looking forward to the session and to hearing those comments from people. So again, if you would like to leave a comment now, you're welcome to. This is our stakeholder comment period. You can raise your hand to leave a comment by using the raise hand function, or by dialing *9 if you're calling from a phone, or you can drop it into the chat box as Ms. Smith just mentioned. Feel free to state your name if you're interested. Everybody has 2 minutes to speak. Everybody is allowed to speak once per our stakeholder comment period. Again, we are simply getting comments and collecting those. We aren't answering questions at this time. And we are asking that people keep their comments on topic related to Spark, our previous Spark sessions and topics, or tonight's session. And again, tonight's Spark session is on corporate social responsibility.
Then we have a new hand that just raised. Phone number ending with the last 4 digits, 7236. You will be unmuted and you'll have 2 minutes. There you go.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
I've got a social responsibility. I've noticed that there are some, I've got a PCN application in, and I've noticed that there are some licenses that are under litigation and not going anywhere. And, you know, the city is not able to collect any sales tax when you have a social equity applicant that qualifies that could open, and it ties up the market for somebody who might be able to open and do a good job, but instead it's tied up because of the, you know, radius. You know, it doesn't, you know, it's within a radius where, I don't know how to explain it. Anyway, so the bottom line is I think the city's missing out, and it gives a temporary license to somebody who may or may not particularly ever be able to open. So that's my comment.
Oh, it looks like we lost our callers. Or feel free to call back in and we'll make sure that you get your remaining time. Looks like the caller dropped, Ms. Plummer. If he raises his hand, we'll let him back in. We have approximately 30 more minutes in this comment session. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand. Or if you're calling from an outside line, please use *9 from your phone to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. Thank you.
I'm not sure if the caller that, what was the last 4 of that last caller's phone number again? I'm sorry.
7236.
I think that caller might have just called back in. Caller ending in 7236, would you like to finish your comment with the remaining time that you have? You might need to
*9.
*6 or sorry.
We'll *9 to raise his hand.
I'm figuring it out. Well, sorry, I fell off, but I
No
was
problem.
just curious.
You have approximately 1 minute left, so go ahead.
Yeah, I was, you know, I wanted the DCR to take a close look at people who, you know, could be blocking, number one, the city's ability to earn tax revenue, and also letting somebody who has worked very hard to, you know, to open and spent a lot of money, you know, to give something back to the city and offer a good service instead, because somebody's, you know, maybe stuck in litigation, they may never open, and it blocks somebody who's qualified to open. And you know, I just think from a social responsibility standpoint, that would be, you know, it would be a good thing to do. And I think the social equity should have a priority status over a person who's not.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you coming back on so we could finish your comment. Thank you very much. We have another person that has raised their hand, Eugene Marshall. You will have 2 minutes to speak. You are being unmuted. Excuse me. You might have to unmute yourself. Mr. Marshall, would you like to speak? We've unmuted you, but it looks like you're gonna have to unmute on your end.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. A couple questions and concerns. I'm having a hard time talking to somebody in the DCR about different situations that occur. You guys are not answering your phones no more or returning emails. Is it a different angle to get in to talk to you guys directly?
Sir, if you have a specific question, feel free to enter it in the chat, but right now this is just a general comment period. So we're not really answering any direct questions, but we would love to hear your comment. We are recording everything. And if you'd like to make a record of it, you can enter your question in the chat, but right now it's just a comment period only.
Oh, okay. No, I'll wait. I just listen. Okay. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Again, this is our stakeholder comment period. Participants are allowed to speak once per a stakeholder comment period, and everybody has 2 minutes. If you would like to leave a comment, if you have not left one already, feel free to raise your hand using the raise hand function or *9 if calling from a phone to provide your stakeholder comment. We ask that comments remain on topic. Again, this is for a comment collection period and not engagement method. We aren't answering questions per se at this time. We're just getting comments and feedback from our stakeholders and community members.
And I have a hand at this time. It looks like it's Chef Holmes. You will be unmuted and you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We sure can. You're a little bit low, but we can hear you.
We sure can. You're a little bit. Okay, so I do have a general statement about the process that is, I guess, that's going to be happening for verification this month, hopefully. It's been several years, maybe a year and a half, for
Looks like we lost the caller.
All righty. While we
Yes.
wait for the next hand, this person actually, I think, just came back. So
Yes. Mr. Holmes, you've been unmuted. Oh, it looks like you dropped off again.
Okay, so I did?
We can hear you. You have approximately 1 minute left. We can hear you now.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that they do not go back and try to verify all the old applicants on the new process that, or the new regulations that they have going, because most of them probably would not be verified because of the new process. So hopefully they are going to grandfather the applicants that have already submitted their social equity paperwork prior to their new regulation. That's basically all I have to say. Just hopefully they understand that that wouldn't be right for the new for the old applicants.
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you for your comment. Repeat. I'm sorry. Okay, I will say thank you for your time. Any other comments? We have approximately 20 minutes left. This is the time for you to get your 2-minute comment out so that everyone can hear what you have to say. Again, use *9 to raise your hand from your phone or use the raise hand feature in the Zoom.
While we wait for the next hand, I want to just let everybody know that DCR and Elevate Impact LA will be hosting a seed grant program lunch and learn on Thursday, June 10th, 2021 from 12 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. The team from Elevate Impact LA will walk participants through each step of the application, provide feedback on grant assessment documents, and answer questions. This is a great time to ask questions about the seed grant program and qualifications and getting those applications filled out.
And we have another hand raised right now. It's Louis. Louis, you will be unmuted and you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you. I was hoping that Measure M would, the resources from Measure M would be used for what the DCR could do to help the social equity applicants in giving them revenue and stuff to help them in fees and stuff. And I was hoping that all relatives of anybody that qualifies, that their relatives, the parents, the children, were all affected by the war on drugs. And they should be able to get into qualify also in this next round. They shouldn't have to wait. They should be eligible immediately for the next round. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
And again, we are currently in our stakeholder comment period. Our Spark session will begin at 6 p.m. and we have added an additional 30 minutes to the end of our Spark session today and the remaining 2 following today's session. And so we are going to be doing the breakout room similar to what we did last time, and we'll begin that at 6 p.m. Right now we are in our stakeholder comment period. Again, feel free to raise your hand or use *9 if calling from a phone to provide stakeholder comment. Feel free to state your name if you're interested. Participants each have 2 minutes to speak and are allowed to speak once per a stakeholder comment period. This is a time for comment collection. We want to hear from you guys. Anything you got, let us know. Please try to keep your comments on topic as far as Spark, our various sessions, the initiative, or corporate social responsibility. And we want to hear from everybody. So if you know somebody who is currently a stakeholder in the cannabis industry here in LA or wants to be involved in the cannabis industry here in Los Angeles, feel free to invite them to these Spark sessions. The more comments and notes that we have, the better we can create programming for our community and stakeholders. We have had this is our 6th Spark session. We have 2 additional Spark sessions after tonight. Tonight's Spark session is on corporate social responsibility, and we will include the breakout rooms. We'll also be doing some polls during tonight's session, so we are looking forward to doing that. And I think I see a hand raised.
Yes, we have Sherry Franklin. Ms. Franklin, you'll be unmuted and you'll have the floor for 2 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, thank you for having these sessions. I just, wanted to put in a word about, what's really available for social equity applicants for technical assistance, as well as funding. We've been at this for a while. Everyone is really trying to hold it together, both phase 2 and now phase 3. I think we could do a much better job of working with all different types of sources to help social equity applicants have the support that they need. I get calls, I'm sure you guys do too, but it's very stark, the support. There's no real assistance, for people to think through, no thought leadership, when people have an issue. I'm a consultant here in the city. Otherwise, I'm, as you may know, I'm with Jima Tribe and help start Go Verde Incubator. And I work with a lot of large projects here in the city that have to pay a lot of money for people to handle things through building and safety and through, planning and land use. And to just say to a social equity person who's working with limited resources, oh, just figure it out, is just not acceptable. We can do better. I helped the city form the case management unit under Reardon. We can have a special case management unit under building and safety to work with social equity applicants and all applicants in cannabis. In fact, that's possible. It's possible to work with EWDD and to coordinate funding sources with the state to provide technical assistance for filling out applications or to access funding or to work with other nonprofits that provide technical assistance for capitalizing a project or building out a project. We can do better. Other cities are doing better. And I just don't understand why we're not able to do that, why it's taking so long, but I want us to do better.
No, I appreciate I'm sorry, your time is up, but thank you very much for your comment. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We have approximately 12 minutes left for this comment period. If you'd like to make a comment at this time, please raise your hand. If you're in Zoom, if you're calling from a phone, please use *9 to raise your hand and then *6 to unmute yourself. We'd love to hear from you. Again, our topic for this evening is corporate social responsibility. We'll be getting started with that at 6 o'clock. Right now, we're in our comment session period. We have approximately 11 minutes left. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand and we will call on you and allow you the floor for 2 minutes. Thank you. I see that we have a hand raised. It's it looks like it's Date iPhone. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but we will unmute you and you will have the floor for 2 minutes.
Hello.
Yes, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, my name is Daoud Sherels. I'm a stakeholder and also a startup company that manage social equity license holders, PNC, and corporate responsibility as reference to the city and the revenues that's been, I guess, collected, from the cannabis industry. I mean, most of us social equity individuals out here, there's no real information, or we believe there's no real support, from the city and the DCR. And so, we've been having a lot of sessions, a lot of talk, but a lot of us who have invested into this industry during COVID was financially impacted heavily. And, the city itself, there was, it's like really nothing other than just a bunch of conversations, a bunch of talk, while, most of us who are coming from these highly impacted neighborhoods who having, financial challenges are having to, do this stuff on our own and, just, speak with a few other groups who are monitoring Measure M and the collection of the taxes from this space. It's like, it's very difficult for us, So to really, stay level or stay, fully involved in this industry without, like I say, technical support and financial support. And like I say, a lot of us pay fees and have a lot of our license holders paying fees and things like that. And it's like, what's the purpose of social equity? What does that really mean? And so that's just, my take in on is that a lot of us, who come from these disadvantaged communities, and these economic challenges, really don't have no outlet. We hear a lot of talk,
Sir,
but
thank
we
you
really
for
don't see no actions. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem, sir. Just want to let you know your time is up, but we really appreciate your comment and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Next, we have Coach Ron. Coach, you're on. You have 2 minutes and you'll be unmuted. Coach Ron, you're on.
Hey, thank you. My
Oh, I think he's been muted again. You might need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you, Coach Ron. You may need to start over again. You're unmuted right now, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Coach Ron, are you there?
Here now.
A little bit. Seems like a bad connection. Go ahead. You've got 2 minutes.
No, I would just like to advocate for some type of exemption for the social responsibility here in world famous Skid Row, because we need all the resources we can to address some of this, some of the issues that face the community. So I'd like to see how can we get that in place.
Is that your comment, sir? Looks like he has a bad connection. He's dropped off again. If he comes back on, sir, we'll give you your fully allotted time.
And it looks like we have about 5 to 7 minutes remaining. In this remaining time, I'm thinking we could take around 2, maybe 3 more comments. If there are any comments, we will be wrapping up the stakeholder comment period momentarily. The gentleman that just disconnected, if he's able to join back, we'll want to save one of those spots for him.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yep, I just unmuted you again. So go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, how can we look at providing an exemption to some of the social responsibility advocates here in Skid Row? I know that the need is high to get some financial support for some of the issues that face the community. So is that a consideration? Is that possible?
Looks like he's dropped off again. We have approximately 5 minutes left. So if he comes back on, we'll give him a slot. And if there's any other person that would like to make a comment, this is your time. It looks like we have another raised hand. Phone number ending in 8030. You will have 2 minutes. And you might need to unmute yourself. And you're on right now.
Hello, my name is Hansel Urbina. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
In Googling the term corporate responsibility just now, after hearing the community's input, it says it's a term which is come to characterize a family of professional disciplines intended to help a corporation stay competitive by maintaining accountability to its 4 main shareholder groups: customers, employees, shareholders, and communities. So as a participant here, since September 3rd, 2019, in preparation for that 2 years approximately, I find it a little appalling that we're having this conversation when there's only been 3 temporary approvals given. And what I mean by that is, how are we supposed to have the 4 main stakeholder groups, which are customers, relative to being operational, employees relating also to being operational, shareholders, okay, and communities, which we as a group are personally trying to, we strive to give back to the community, homelessness, education, everything we can, but we need to be operational to have these conversations and move them forward. Otherwise, it's just hot air. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We have time for approximately 1 more comment. We will be starting our session tonight on corporate social responsibility at 6 p.m. We have time for one more comment. And I have one more hand raised. Ms. Plummer, I'm going to unmute Michael Federici.
Yes, Michael Federici here.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Well, I am in the process of licensing. We're in the temporary, trying to get a temporary approval. We also have the PCN application. And my question is how do we get in touch with, for instance, Kevin DeLeon is now my representative in District 14. We're supposed to have a city clerk file number. I paid the fees months ago. I've heard nothing about it. We qualify for PCN necessities. We're on the right on the exit ramps for the downtown convention center. And it seems to be it's just thrown in the air and everybody's on hold and nobody knows what to do. How do we get in touch with city council members to establish a relationship that we can, as I said, I was there operational for 5 years, paying taxes. And then this city asked us to close in 2019 and gave us 60 days to close, in which we did. Waiting for licensing. So my question is how do we connect with stakeholders, city council members to push through what we think would be an asset to the community and the city itself, as we have been, and we've proven to be already. But I can't seem to have contact with anybody. We did have a city council member in my district. He was arrested, Jose Cuizar, for taking bribes. So right now we don't know what's going on. So my question is, how do we open it up? How do we get access also to help from the city to push this through?
Thank you for your time, sir. This is right now just a comment period, but if you go to the DCR website, I'm sure you'll be able to find a way to contact, or just the City of Los Angeles website in general would be able to assist you. And with that,
Right.
You're welcome, sir. And with that, I'll hand it over to Ms. Plummer so we can get started with tonight's session. Thank you everyone for your time and your comments. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Smith, and thank you all for joining this evening. We will begin the Spark session momentarily. The Department of Cannabis Regulation is recording this meeting by audio and visual means. By continuing with this meeting, you consent to this recording and acknowledge that the Department of Cannabis Regulation owns the recording and may use it or reproduce it in any manner it deems necessary. If you do not consent to being recorded, please discontinue your participation in the meeting. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us at tonight's Spark session. We recognize that there are many questions and concerns about cannabis in our community, and also recognize that current laws about cannabis continue to have significant impacts on issues like employment rights, housing rights, educational opportunities, and access to health care. And these laws and policies continue to have wide-ranging impacts on Angelenos, especially on marginalized communities. This is the genesis of Spark. With your help, DCR can support and provide the community with access, resources, and knowledge about cannabis activity in the city to the local community. Spark needs you. Members of our local community and stakeholders impacted by cannabis policy or those seeking to affect cannabis policy to share your feedback with us so that when DCR makes future policy recommendations to local leaders, those recommendations will be shaped by the individuals and communities most likely to be impacted. Before we get into the polls and the breakout rooms, I'd like to briefly review a few updates from our Spark campaign. Spark is generally broken into 5 key phases: collecting feedback, analyzing feedback, creating the final report. Then DCR and the commission will develop and present the report and recommendations to City Council and appropriate council committees. From there, it will be up to council and council committees to take action. We are currently in the collect feedback phase of this initiative. Throughout today's session, feel free to leave us a comment related to Spark or the topic in the chat box. We'll be collecting and analyzing these comments as part of our program and final report. If you hear something you have a comment on, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. I want to let everybody know that we will be extending our tonight's session and future sessions by 30 minutes. The next Spark session will be held Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. The stakeholder comment period will be from 5 to 6 p.m. We'd love to get your feedback on and comments from or takeaways from tonight or any other Spark sessions. The Spark session will be focused on the social equity program and will last from 6 to 7:30 p.m. You can RSVP in the virtual meeting room. There's also additional ways to stay connected to Spark. We have the virtual meeting room, which is accessed via our website at cannabis.lacity.org, which contains our Spark surveys, Spark resource station, and Spark comment box. We hope you will go and visit the virtual meeting room, take a survey, leave a comment, and look at the resource station to be able to guide your comments and the survey. I will now pass the presentation over to DCR's Executive Director, Kat Packer, who will begin with introductions and opening remarks for today.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer. My name is Kat Packer. I'm the Executive Director of the City of Los Angeles Department of Cannabis Regulation. I'd like to welcome everyone to our 6th Spark session. For folks who have continued to join us and also for folks who are new, welcome. Participants in Spark should see themselves as a part of a focus group or study that will provide information to the department and the Cannabis Regulation Commission that we can use in our role and responsibility to advise the City of Los Angeles, including the mayor and city council, on cannabis and cannabis policy in the City of Los Angeles. Now, though Spark is a DCR-led initiative, we have asked our commissioners to join us. And tonight, we have Commissioner Villa joining us. And so I'd like to be able to use this time to allow Commissioner Villa to give a brief introduction and welcome everyone as well. Commissioner Villa.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Director Packer. I would just like to thank everyone who made comments during the public comment period. They were all very interesting, and I look forward to the rest of tonight's session, where we hope to hear a further discussion in the breakout rooms that's a little bit more robust, giving people more time to share and give input on these important topics of social corporate responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Villa. Next slide. So before we jump into tonight's session that will include polls and breakout rooms, I just wanted to frame this. We've tried to frame some of these conversations before we head into further dialogue. So I'll just very briefly share a few slides about our framework here in the City of Los Angeles, what provides the framework primarily for our licensing and social equity program. But it's also important to articulate that as we're having conversations through the Spark initiative, that we're seeking to get impact on policies that go beyond what is currently situated in our licensing and social equity program. But the policies and laws in the City of Los Angeles that articulate the procedures by which the Department of Cannabis Regulation can process applications for licensure and issue licenses for commercial cannabis activity are contained in the Cannabis Procedures Ordinance, which can be found on our website at cannabis.lacity.org. The Cannabis Procedures Ordinance and our general framework alongside the state's law require that businesses have both a license from the City of Los Angeles and a state license in order to lawfully operate a commercial cannabis business. So articulated previously, it's the cannabis procedures that detail the requirements for the department and commission and the issuance of licenses for commercial cannabis activities. Specifically, here in the City of Los Angeles, the city has authorized the licensure of cultivation, manufacturing, distribution, testing, retail, and delivery. And our licensing and social equity program respectively have their own restrictions related to the licensing and application process. The Department of Cannabis Regulation is responsible for administering the commercial cannabis licensing and regulatory program established by City Council. Specifically, DCR processes applications for commercial cannabis activity and either makes the licensing determination or makes a recommendation to our commission for licensure. In addition, we manage the city's cannabis social equity program and are charged with the development of corporate social responsibility reporting requirements for licensed cannabis businesses. And that's part of what tonight's Spark session will focus on, these reporting requirements and ensuring that we get feedback from stakeholders on the criteria and guidelines that we develop. Next slide. As a reminder, the mission of our social equity program is to promote equitable ownership and employment opportunities in the cannabis industry in order to decrease disparities and outcomes for marginalized communities and to address the disproportionate impacts of the war on drugs in those communities. Through participation in the social equity program, applicants who are verified as individuals and entities would have access to priority application processing, business licensing and compliance assistance, fee waiver and fee deferral programs, seed grant programs, and pro bono legal services. I'll use this as an opportunity to again plug next week's Lunch and Learn for the seed grant program. Throughout the course of these Spark sessions, we've had feedback from stakeholders expressing to us the need for financial assistance. We currently have a financial assistance program and want to make sure that we can increase participation in that program, whereby we're making $6 million available to social equity applicants. I want to remind folks that the deadline to apply for the seed grant program is August 18th, which is quickly approaching. We want to see as many folks participate in that program as possible so that when we go back to City Council and go back to state and other services programs for additional resources, we can show that people are participating in the programs that we have available and that we're expending the resources that have been made available. So we are hosting this Lunch and Learn to try and walk folks through the application process. I know that there are some folks who have submitted applications and it seems like some people were using the same consultant who shared with them inaccurate information. So we want to just make sure you're getting that information from us directly. We can walk you step by step, help you fill out the actual application document. So again, that's going to be on June 10th, next Thursday, from 12 to 1:30. Similarly, there have been comments made about the need for technical assistance. At the last Cannabis Regulation Commission meeting, we had 5 vendors who have been selected to lead the development and implementation of business licensing and compliance assistance, join the commission meeting to share with members of the public and our commissioners their 4-month plan. We had a very robust presentation from those vendors, and I encourage members of the public, participants in the Spark session to continue to engage with our vendors through the department so that as we're building this technical assistance programming, it is directly responsive to stakeholders' needs. So I'll make sure that we create additional forums and programs so that folks who have direct feedback about the type of assistance they're looking for or have recommendations about the ways that the city can partner with other organizations or with stakeholders to increase participation and make sure that stakeholders have the type of assistance that they're looking for. Again, feedback is going to be critical in that regard, and in the development of our policies and programs generally. So I again want to thank folks for their continued participation in these Spark sessions. So the next slide. So part of the reason why we're having this particular Spark session on corporate social responsibility is we recognize that we have a responsibility to engage regularly with the community and to ensure through that community engagement that we're promoting equity in corporate social responsibility within the cannabis industry. Specifically, the Cannabis Procedures Ordinance requires DCR to develop criteria and guidelines for corporate social responsibility reports. We will be implementing and posting guidelines and criteria sometime this fall so that we can receive reports before year's end. But part of what we want to be able to do is to make sure that stakeholders are and have an opportunity to inform the guidelines and criteria that we establish. So we recognize that folks in the community have been waiting for these guidelines and waiting for this these criteria to be posted. They will be posted before the end of the calendar year. Again, we plan to do that this fall so that folks are reporting and providing corporate social responsibility reports. If they have been in operation in years previously, they will be providing reports for those years as well. But this is an opportunity for you, our stakeholders, to share with us what you think should be included in this criteria. And I'm hoping that through the polls that we have for folks this afternoon and the breakout rooms, and I'll be jumping back and forth between different breakout rooms, we can have a dialogue about what standards or what criteria should be in the CSR report. So again, Spark will help inform the department about our corporate social responsibility criteria and guidelines. Ultimately, we will post the criteria and guidelines on our website, and then we'll make available the corporate social responsibility reports that are being submitted by all of our applicants and licensees. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining tonight's session. I will now pass the presentation back over to Ms. Plummer.
Thank you, Director Packer. We are excited to go into our breakout rooms. This is a great time. I think last week when we had our breakout rooms, I just had a wonderful time hearing from everybody. And so before we actually go into the breakout rooms, we're going to do a few polls to try to spark some thoughts and discussion as we go into these breakout rooms. So I'm going to launch the first poll. And the first poll we're asking is, how familiar are you with the term corporate social responsibility? You know, I've heard people speaking tonight, and some people have a knowledge of what it means. We heard a gentleman give a definition that they read online. So again, how familiar are you with the term corporate social responsibility? And I'll give everybody about a minute to log in their answer to the poll, and it's very familiar, somewhat familiar, neutral, somewhat unfamiliar, very unfamiliar, or unsure. So again, we're asking, how familiar are you with the term corporate social responsibility? Very familiar, somewhat familiar, neutral, somewhat unfamiliar, very unfamiliar, or unsure. And so we're getting a few last participants in the poll. So we're going to leave it up for a few more seconds. But again, we have about 3 poll questions, and then we'll go into the breakout rooms. These are kind of going to help us spark some thoughts as we go into the breakout rooms. We will have the prompts inside of the breakout rooms similar to what we did last time. But again, we wanted to utilize this time to get your feedback and how familiar are you with corporate social responsibility. So we're going to end the poll now, and I'm going to share the results. And so it's interesting. Some people are very familiar and some are somewhat familiar. There are a few attendees tonight who are neutral, somewhat unfamiliar, or unsure. And so again, we're looking forward to having these discussions and bringing people into the conversation of what corporate social responsibility is, what you feel it should look like, and all of that great conversation that we'll see happening. And you know me, I love a poll. So our next question is, in your opinion, how important is corporate social responsibility? And specifically, how important is it in the cannabis industry? So let's launch this. So in your opinion, how important is corporate social responsibility in the cannabis industry? Very important, somewhat important, neutral, not important at all, or unsure. And, you know, a lot of people are chiming in. We're getting a lot of quick results. We're going to leave this up for about 30 to 40 more seconds to see if there's anybody who's joining us in the time in the past few seconds who would like to participate in this poll. We asked one question already, but right now we're asking the question, in your opinion, how important is corporate social responsibility in the cannabis industry? So very important, somewhat important, neutral, not important at all, or unsure. And again, looking at this, we'll be able to see some people, where people's thermometer is on corporate social responsibility. So as we enter these breakout rooms, you can take that into that breakout room so you can express yourself and have an open, honest discussion about corporate social responsibility, what that could look like, and what we should be doing as far as corporate social responsibility and the cannabis industry here in Los Angeles. And so I think we got most of the attendees have participated. So we're going to end and share. And by far, very important is the number one choice. In your opinion, how important is corporate social responsibility in the cannabis industry? Very important, somewhat important, neutral, and then unsure were all that were selected. And so from this, what I could take away is people do feel that there is either somewhat of an importance, or they're unsure, or have a middle ground, or a neutral. So we know it is important. So let's have a great discussion around corporate social responsibility. All right, and before we go into the breakout rooms, let's ask one more question. And again, hoping to spark some conversation once we get into these breakout rooms. We'll have some prompts, but again, having a few of these questions can lead to discussion inside of the breakout rooms. So this question is, which of the following issue areas are important for a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy? And this is a multiple choice question, so please select all that will apply. Youth access and prevention, medical programs and patient access, diversity and inclusion, equity, or identifying and eliminating cannabis-related disparities and addressing the harms of the war on drugs, local engagement / volunteering, environmental practices, or labor and workforce policies, and hiring policies. So we're getting some good feedback already. And again, this is a multiple choice question. And so you can choose multiple answers if you would like. Which of the following issue areas are important for a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy? And please select all that apply. Youth access and prevention, medical programs / patient access, diversity and inclusion, equity, or identifying and eliminating cannabis-related disparities and addressing the harms of the war on drugs, local engagement / volunteering, environmental practices, or labor and workforce policies / hiring. And so I'm still seeing some people tapping in. I'm guessing people are looking through them and thinking about what they feel are important. And it's interesting to see what people are selecting. So far, we've had about 61% of those attendees tapped into the poll. And so I know we're still getting some more feedback and they're still rolling in. So again, I'm going to read it one more time before I give the results. And it's which of the following issue areas are important for a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy? And please select all that apply. Again, multiple choice. You don't have to select just one. Youth access and prevention, medical program / patient access, diversity and inclusion, equity, or identifying and eliminating cannabis-related disparities and addressing the harm of the war on drugs, local engagement and volunteering, environmental practices, or labor and workforce policies / hiring. And so of those who participated, the number one choice of issue areas that are important for a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy is equity. And that is by 86% people feel that that is the most important, one of the most important topic areas. And it looks like followed by medical programs and patient access, diversity and inclusion, and labor and workforce policies / hiring. And so before we go into the breakout rooms, in order to foster an inclusive environment during the breakout rooms, we are asking attendees to observe the following guidelines. DCR representatives are in the rooms to present information or to spark discussion and comments. No specific licensing or application questions will be answered. Please use the hand raise function or *9 on your phone to raise your hand to make a comment while in the breakout rooms. Keep your comments and recommendations on topic to the prompt or question, and please allow time for others to provide feedback on each prompt. If you want to use the chat box to respond, feel free to do that as well. We will be copying all of the comments from the chat box down as well. Again, we are taking every comment or piece of feedback that you have. And so let's get into it. Let's go ahead and launch these breakout rooms. Welcome back to the main room. Thank you all. We were able to get through a lot. I know our room had a lot of robust discussion. So I want to go ahead and we have a few more poll questions for you before we wrap up, because I want to get to the Spark share so we can see what the other room spoke about. But really quickly, which of the following disparities should the legal cannabis industry in the city of Los Angeles seek to address through corporate social responsibility initiatives? And so we are going to go to the fourth poll and launch this. And so again, which of the following disparities should the legal cannabis industry in the city of Los Angeles seek to address through corporate social responsibility initiatives? And this is multiple choice. And hopefully there was some discussion. I know in our room one, there was a little bit about what should be addressed and how we should address it. And so I know our Spark share with MBI in a few minutes, once we go through these last few polls and a few announcements, can have some more discussion around, again, what do we want to see? How do we want to see it? What matters most to our communities? And everything matters, for different communities, there are different needs. And so I take that into account, and I want everybody else to take that into account. And again, these sessions are recorded and they will be posted onto the virtual meeting room, and the presentations will eventually be up onto the website. So you guys can go back and reference this if you need to. But again, we want you guys to participate, and seeing things like this and seeing how others engage or what they would pick helps, spark conversation. So the question was, which of the following disparities should the legal cannabis industry in the city of Los Angeles seek to address through corporate social responsibility initiatives? And by far, right, it says education, followed by employment, and then criminal justice and reentry. Then health, and then housing or employment. Yeah. education, employment, criminal justice and reentry, housing. It's interesting to see from those who participated. Again, education was number 1, followed by employment, and then criminal justice and reentry, and then health, and then housing. And so now we have one more last poll. And so the question is, would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in or near your community? So if a business had a corporate social responsibility policy, would that influence how you felt about that business being located in your community? Yes, no, or unsure. So again, would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in or near your community? And if you are selecting unsure or no, and you have a comment for why that is, again, you can drop that into the comment box. Ooh, it's a cat. Drop that into the comment box, and that's open to everybody. There's not regulated to one comment at a time. You can leave comment. Ooh, a dog. You can leave as many comments as you like. I love seeing all the people's pets and things. I'm especially like, it's so cute. I'm glad you guys are really engaging with us tonight. So again, this last question is, would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in your community? And most people said yes. And again, I want to hear back from you. Drop it in the comment box. If you said yes, no, or unsure, what does that mean to you? And what does that say to you? Like, is it a yes, you want to support them? No, you don't want to support them. We want to hear every comment you have, especially from what you guys talked about at the in your various breakout rooms. So again, yes, by a landslide was the answer. So would a cannabis business's corporate social responsibility policy have an influence on how you felt about the business being located in your community? So yes. And so again, I want to remind everybody that we have extended these Spark sessions 30 minutes. As you can see, that it becomes a robust discussion. Invite friends, family to join. We want to have as many people and as many voices heard in the room. Our next discussion will be next Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. The stakeholder comment period will be from 5 to 6 p.m. As we heard tonight, we heard comments prior to the session about corporate social responsibility, some related to our past Spark session. So if you have a thought that comes up within the next few days that you want to give during that stakeholder comment period, feel free to do that then. You can always drop it into the comment box. The Spark session will be from 6 to 7:30, and you can RSVP in the virtual meeting room. That will provide you with the link to the meeting, and we will be talking about the social equity program. And I know that's a hot topic, so I hope to see all the same faces there. And again, as many people as possible, if you're in different organizations or groups, feel free to reach out to cannabisnews@lacity.org and let us know. And we can send you some messaging to send to your organizations and groups. Again, that's cannabisnews@lacity.org, or sign up for the email list. And as a reminder, the Spark virtual meeting room is still open. It's updated with the Spark sessions from the previous Spark session. And there's also a playlist of the Spark sessions, and the upcoming Spark sessions are available to look at. We have resource stations, as well as the comment box and the survey station. And again, those resource stations have different things like fact sheets, FAQs, information about corporate social responsibility, and the such. So please make sure to visit there. And again, every poll question you guys participate in, every survey you participate in, helps us develop these reports. And if we don't have your participation, we can't develop these reports. So every survey you take, there's 2 surveys currently available. They're available through June 30th. Please make sure to participate, and again, encourage your following and those who are stakeholders or committee members who are have thoughts about cannabis in the community, please make sure that they participate. If they don't want to take the survey, there's always the Spark comment box, which I hype up all the time. Again, there's no limit on how many comments you can leave in the Spark comment box. We want to get everything. Even if it's a random thought you have on a Tuesday at 2 p.m., drop it into that comment box. You can get to that comment box from the virtual meeting room from the DCR website, which again leads me to how can you stay connected to Spark? We have our Spark virtual meeting room, which is again on the website. Go to cannabis.lacity.org and you'll be able to click through to the Spark landing page, which will take you to the virtual meeting room. There you can have access to the email blast. You can participate in the survey, see what upcoming sessions we have, and leave a comment in the comment box. And so again, we want to stay connected with you, and feel free to stay connected with us. And we hope to see you at our session on Tuesday, social equity program, 5 o'clock for the comment period and 6 o'clock for the session. I'm going to now pass it over to MBI. We're going to do a quick session share. I'm going to bring up the main facilitator of room 1 first. That will be Ms. Smith with MBI and her team, and they'll share the whiteboard that we put that we kind of were working on in our room, and she'll run through some of the thoughts that we had. And again, hopefully this will spark some thoughts in you guys, and can go back and leave comments in the comment box or in the chat right now, or at the next stakeholder comment period. So Ms. Smith, take it away.
Okay, and in consideration of time, I'm not going to read everything on the board because as she said, room 1 was really a robust talk. So I'm just going to kind of highlight some of the topics. I will not read everything, but you guys can kind of peruse it yourself. But corporate social responsibility, basically in our room, they were looking for businesses to give back, being a responsible and responsive partner in participation, analyze current social value of existing cannabis business. And also a thing that came up was hiring from the community. As far as corporate social responsibility report, no separation, this industry and the community activities, ongoing relationship with nonprofit surrounding areas within the city or within the state, address and focus on the unhoused community, and focus on nonprofits and services in social equity impacted areas. The next topic, which was CSR Policies and Reporting, keep in mind that there are already programs in place throughout the city, established goals and outcomes, best practices do not work, mandates are necessary. Moving on to CSR Evaluation, create logic model for how outcomes should be measured. Reports should be submitted to local stakeholders. Check out the systems that are already in place. Someone brought up a good point to not reinvent the wheel and identify what is necessary in the community. And last but not least, CSR incentives. Licenses should be revoked if there is no proof of CSR. Track through existing city projects and connect with organizations that services underserved communities in their area. And with that, I'll pass it on back to Ms. Plummer for room 2's report.
Yeah, so room 2, feel free to come up. I think that was Jocelyn and Kristen over there. So feel free to share your screen and give us some highlights of what you guys discussed. And I know Director Packer spoke in both of the rooms tonight, so I hope that helped spark some additional conversation.
Yes, thank you so much, Raina. And thank you so much, Director Packer, for just participating in our room and helping facilitate the conversation as well. So I would just, again, how Ms. Pamela mentioned, I will also be reading quickly from the board. So for the first question, which was, what did it mean to our room, what social responsibility was to them? They shared that cannabis industry should focus on marginalized communities, the morality and the equity over capitalism, as well as using a co-op structure in businesses and the industry, and helping employ underserved communities and tax breaks, as well as incentives for owners. And for the next question, which are in the orange, is what distinction should be made regarding corporate social responsibility? Some of the topics that were shared were employee pay, work incentives, paid sick days, health insurance for employees, and bonus programs should be included as well as in the report. And also when it comes to what should be the standard of community engagement by cannabis businesses is the cultivation. They should train youth and others affected by the war on drugs, help them give back to people that have problems, work with probation departments, nonviolent offenders, and help them do away with the stigmas, as well as when assisting the undeserved communities. They mentioned again the employee pay, work incentives, paid sick days, and the standards of community engagement should be based on a license type and income, or based in a work co-op structure. And the next question, or the next prompt, are how should DCR participate in facilitating the corporate social responsibility? And it's by providing a list of communities or charities or nonprofits that they can contribute to. And the next one, what should be the best way for licensees to submit corporate social responsibility reports? The report should be items businesses have done. So they want to see what has been done by these businesses, how have they contributed to their community and to the individuals. And lastly, what should be the best way for you to see licensees or corporate social responsibilities? And basically in-depth public report for more accountability, guide business owners with action items such as passion projects. And Kristen will share the other side. We weren't able to discuss as much the final prompt, but we were able to, the first question, how should corporate social responsibility be measured and evaluated? It said that DCR should develop a menu of criteria the first year to develop a plan, and future years reporting on how the businesses did. Thank you so much.
And yeah, actually, we're going to take all of these again. They'll be in the final report, and they will be. We're going to just make sure they're nice and put together, and hopefully get those onto the website so you guys can see that. But we are running close to time, and I know we had some robust discussion, and hopefully next time we'll try to add more time during the session from 6 to 7:30 to speak. But I'm going to pass it over to Director Packer to give a brief closing. And before I do go, just for those who are interested, don't forget that next week, on next Thursday, June 10th, from 12 to 1:30, there will be a seed grant program, Lunch and Learn, with DCR and Elevate Impact LA. You can go to cannabis.lacity.org right now to RSVP. And so, Director Packer, feel free to give closing remarks.
Sure, and these will be brief. I just want to thank everyone for joining this afternoon session. I was able to jump into both rooms, and I know we had very robust discussion. So I want to thank everyone for taking their time on a Thursday evening to have these conversations, and for joining consecutive Spark sessions. We do have 2 more Spark sessions left, and we hope that participants in tonight's Spark session will join us for the following sessions. And then we're looking forward to analyzing all of the feedback that we've received and producing this report alongside our commission. So I appreciate everyone's participation. I particularly appreciated the appearance of the pets. We should encourage more of that. I was trying to get my husky to join, but he's not dealing with me right now. But I appreciate everyone's time. Commissioner Villa, if you have any closing remarks, please feel free.
Thank you, Director Packer. I thought the session was very, very interesting. The comments from both rooms were insightful, and these sessions are really important to help us understand what the community is thinking and how we can work forward in the report to develop some appropriate guidelines as we go forward, and changing in response to what the community wants, changing the regulations if possible. So I just want to thank everyone for participating.
Yes, thank you all for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you at our next Spark session, which is next Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. It will be on social equity programs. So please feel free to join, spread the word. Again, if you would like additional information or a flyer or graphic to promote the session, the surveys, or the comments to your following or group, please email us at cannabisnews@lacity.org. Again, that's cannabisnews@lacity.org. It's the same email that you got the reminder email from. And let us know. We'd be happy to provide you with sample messaging to promote the sessions and the surveys and comment box. So we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 5:00 p.m. for this Spark Stakeholder Comment period and 6 o'clock for the session. Thank you.